skyrocketing prices and runaway inflation could become a full-fledged Biden recession. That's the warning in a Washington Post opinion piece that says 3 factors are about to make things much, much worse. A new COVID wave in China sparking more supply chain worries, the ongoing sticker shock at the pump, and the grocery store as Russia's war rages on. And the Federal Reserve expected to raise interest rates this week. And as the risk of recession increases, President Biden wants all the blame on Putin. I bet he does. And he's turning to TikTok users to make it happen.
Why is gas so expensive, and why is the United States inflation rate at a 4-time decade high? I had the opportunity to ask the White House why gas down the street is $7, and here's what they said. The obvious reason: we're getting out of a 2-year pandemic. When use goes up, price goes up. But the call was predominantly about Ukraine and Russia, so how does that relate? Russia is one of the top 3 producers of oil, and it is actually their #1 revenue source. Now, with Putin starting this horrific fight between Ukraine and Russia, nobody wants to work with him and do an international trade.
Oh, it's all the Putin gas spike. Leslie, Tom Bevan, though, putting up this chart showing consumer confidence at an 11-year low. The American people aren't buying the TikTok star's appeal. 70% in ABC blame Biden for inflation. 70% blame Biden for the Biden gas hike. Leslie.
Depends which headline you read. I don't blame Putin or Biden because not one word. I don't blame Putin. I don't blame Putin. I know what the polling says, but there are realities. And the reality is that every single nation in the world is suffering financially. So I know that President Biden and the United States are leaders of the free world, but we're not the leader of each country within the free world, 1. 2, we also don't see the headlines that the United States has led the world in the recovery, that the stock market increased 27% last year. Why aren't we talking about also that the price of a barrel of oil has decreased and is continuing to decrease? Are there pieces in play with any administration with legislation that they put forth that can affect and contribute to a potential recession, God forbid, or to inflation? Absolutely. But one piece of legislation, everybody likes to talk about Build Back Better, didn't pass. I mean, one piece of legislation that has a big price tag to it. And additionally, there are other realities with responsibility. The Federal Reserve is very much responsible, and some people say was too passive and that interest rate should have been hiked last year. So this is a multifaceted problem. It can't be blamed just on Vladimir Putin, because certainly this war and this invasion have contributed to the economy worldwide, but it also can't be blamed solely on President Biden. And by the way, your former boss, Donald Trump, I said the same thing when he was president.
Let me get in here. Larry Summers saying,
leader of one nation.
Are you familiar with Larry Summers? He's an former Obama economist, says it's wrong to blame Putin.
Yes.
The beauty of all of this, Emily, is you can't deceive the American people on the economy. 58% disapprove of Biden on the economy, 70% disapprove him on inflation. You can't tell the people their gas prices are low when they're putting stickers of Joe Biden on pumps pointing to the gas prices. They don't buy it because they're the ones paying the bills.
And the media needs to pin him down on his approach so that then voters can hold him accountable, right? The Wall Street Journal has a great op-ed out this morning saying exactly this. They say, the next time someone gets to ask him a question, say, Mr. President, will you do everything in your regulatory power to make it easier for American companies to produce more oil and gas to make the U.S. and its allies in Europe and elsewhere less dependent on Russian energy? They say the question is straightforward, right? The goal is to elicit a straightforward response. And it gets to the heart of this current geopolitical moment, they say, and it says it gives the president a choice, right? Either he commits to this and then we hold him to it, or he shows his true cards that he's capitulating to John Kerry and the progressive left, which does no one any favors and will certainly make all of us suffer more for it. But the bottom line is he needs to give that straightforward answer, and we need to hold him accountable if he says indeed that he's committed to diminishing regulatory infringement on oil production and energy production so that we can survive.
Yeah, and then meanwhile, we're in the middle of the probably worst war in Europe we've seen since 1945. Jen Psaki decides to call 30 TikTok users up on Zoom and have a conversation with them on Friday, purportedly to combat misinformation. But really what they're doing is getting them all to talk about the Putin gas hike. It reminds me of Pajama Boy. Do you remember Pajama Boy? We'll just pop his picture up. That's when Obama used this lad here to try to get people to purchase Obamacare.
I actually have those pajamas. I think I bought them from Target.
They're cute.
No, seriously, we took our holiday picture in them. Really. A couple things. And you know, Leslie is talking about the fact, and with transparency, that she as a Democrat also agrees, you know, with some of the critics of Biden who've said it can't be all Putin's whatever fault, responsibility. Well, that's easy, right? That's low-hanging fruit, as Joey would say, because we saw nearly a $2 hike before the war even began. So, I mean, over the last year since Biden's been president, it's been going in the wrong direction, the price of gasoline. But one thing that I would want to correct on the record, and this is really important because it speaks to where we are, Dagan McDowell did a wonderful job laying this out on Fox Business earlier today. There's a reason why we're watching the cost of crude go down per barrel, and it is plummeting pretty quickly because we were up around $105, $106 a barrel. Now we're in the mid-90s, and the reason that's happening is because we are sliding into potentially one of the worst recessions we've seen in a while. And if in fact you have the kind of humanitarian crisis that is only compared to in numbers and targeting of Ukraine and the deaths, so on and so forth, that we know of, to World War II moments, that impacts all of us because we all drink from the same cup, right? We all need energy. We've cut out Russia. We've, you know, so these things are important. Recessionary behavior in America affects the globe. So, Leslie, it is not good news that the crude oil prices are coming down that precipitously and that we could possibly be changing economically and going into a recession even faster, because more than likely we will not see that carried on to the consumer at the pump. That's the problem. I just wanted to address that because it's important that we understand that that's not just a ticking of the box and, oh my gosh, everything's rosy because the price of crude has come down. That's not exactly how it works.
It's not. Joey, your thoughts on the Biden gas hike?
Yeah, real quick, Leslie, I think whoever's telling you that Ukrainians can't fly the aircraft that's in Poland that also is in Ukraine right now might be telling you that none of this is Joe Biden's fault, and you need to check your sources just a little bit. When we talk about things like drilling or energy independence or drilling, when Jen Psaki stands at the podium and says there are 9,000 land lease permits that are approved that aren't being used, what she doesn't tell you is there are 4,600 drill permits for those land leases that are not being approved for no other reason than partisan politics. This administration has stifled optimism in our economy, and that's the problem. You can talk about the micro measures, but when we take a step back and look at the macro of our economy, people that have money are holding on to it. That's why they're having to print more, and that's a problem.
Yeah, speaking of macroeconomics,
there are over 9,000 permits right now. There are over 9,000.
Leslie, I just explained to you what that means. I'm happy to send you my sources. I'm happy to provide you with information on the difference between 9,000 land leases and a drill permit. Those are two different things. Land lease means nothing without a drill permit.
Yep. And speaking of basic macroeconomics, the Biden administration could use some. They say you increase supply of drilling, you don't bring down prices. I took macroeconomics. Maybe he didn't.